Beesmas is coming soon, hopefully. But when it arrives, there are a ton of mistakes that players will make, which can have a big impact on how well you actually do this Beesmas. Which is why in this video, I'll be giving you guys some of the best tips to ensure that you make the most honey and overall just do the best you possibly can this Beesmas. Starting off with your Stump Snail. Now you might be wondering why Stump Snail is a tip. How in the world does Stump Snail tie into doing well this Beesmas? Well, it's actually because of Stump Snail's drops. Now while Stump Snail usually just drops like a Stump Amulet and Star Jellies and maybe a Mythic Egg every once in a while, during Beesmas, Stump Snail is actually guaranteed to drop at least 5 gingerbread bears every single time you defeat it. It can actually drop anywhere from 5 to 25 gingerbread bears. You know, 25 is a lot more than 5. But the main reason I'm saying this is because you want to have your Stump Snail ready to defeat as soon as Beesmas comes out. And I'm not just talking about, yeah, you want your Stump Snail to be spawned. You want your Stump Snail to be at like 1 million health when Beesmas comes out, so that way it only takes you a couple minutes to actually defeat it, and you can get your first easy 5 gingerbread bears of Beesmas. So all I'm saying is make sure that you're prepared with your Stump Snail for when Beesmas comes, and make sure that your Stump Snail is always on low health, so that way if Beesmas ends up dropping, then it won't be hard to defeat your Stump Snail. And that actually goes for all bosses, not just the Stump Snail, because King Beetle, Tunnel Bear, and Coconut Crab can actually all drop gingerbread bears. I'm pretty sure Tunnel Bear and King Beetle only drop like 1, but Coconut Crab can drop anywhere from like 3 to 5. So make sure that you're not defeating these bosses when Beesmas is near. Now very much keep that in mind. Don't just completely stop defeating your bosses right now. You only want to stop defeating your bosses if you know for a fact that Beesmas is going to be in like a couple days or something. If you stop defeating all your bosses right now, well then you're probably going to have to wait like another month to defeat them, because who knows when Beesmas is coming out. But while that method was kind of important because it gives you some extra gingerbread bears, this next method is probably going to be your most important decision of all of Beesmas, and that's going to be macro. Macro is like by far the best possible way to do anything this Beesmas. To grind materials, to make honey, to do quests, all of it. And you want to make sure that you have a macro ready to do all of that. And out of all the macros out there, there's none I could recommend more than the Natero macro. It's seriously amazing as a macro, but then it also has some Beesmas exclusive settings that will basically claim like your Dapper Bear's Samovore and your Mother Bear's Gingerbread House and on its lit art. It's just straight up an amazing program. So really quickly, I'll put a link to how to download it in the description. But you really do want to make sure you have one ready. If you're a blue hive, you want to make sure you got all your settings correct, so that way you can make a heck ton of honey, because macroing combined with Beesmas is basically a blue hive heaven. Seriously, they are going to be making so much honey. If you're not a blue hive, or say for example a white hive like me, you want to make sure you have a bug run ready, because bug runs will not only get you a heck ton of snowflakes, but they'll also give you a heck ton of gingerbread bears, both of which you can use to buy some insanely good stuff in the catalog, such as a mythic egg, some Beesmas packs, and even a gifted mythic egg, just from doing a bunch of macroing. And then of course, actually, if you're an endgame player, you're going to be using macro to complete a lot of Bumblebee Man's quest when it gets released, because there's no way anyone can complete all of that by hand. And if you are a blue hive, while honey is very important, if you want, I would also recommend maybe getting some bug run in there as well. Buying some of the Robux packs will be extremely beneficial. Now after that is the tip above all tips, and that's because it helps you prepare for like the main event of Beesmas, the honey day event. If you didn't know, when you join Bee Swarm on Beesmas, you'll actually be rewarded with a honey day buff, which is a 48-hour buff that grants ×2 honey and ×2 convert rate, aka it's the most overpowered buff in all of Bee Swarm Simulator, and it literally lasts for 2 days. This is the buff that lets people make like 10 quadrillion honey and make it on the all-time honey leaderboards. So of course, with such a big boost, you're going to want to make sure that you're prepared. So you want to make sure that you have full nectars. I don't care what hive color you are, nectars are overpowered. So make sure you have some really good nectars. So you're going to need to macro your planters a few days in advance, so that way you can get 24 hours of each, or you can just stack up a heck ton of nectar vials and just use them all when Beesmas arrives. When it comes to material prep, obviously you want to make sure you have super smoothies on hand, loaded dice, so do some puff shroom runs, do some blender crafting. And as for your specific hive color, like if you're a blue hive, you don't need much material prep. I mean, you just need some extra balloons and then just like, you know, super smoothies, blue extract, easy stuff. But if you're a white hive, you want to make sure that you have a ton of stingers loaded up and a ton of gumdrops. I don't exactly know what red hives need to boost, but I know they also need stingers for star saw. Make sure you have coconut stacked up from your coconut crab, and I don't care which hive color you are, you're gonna need jelly beans and alt accounts, so make sure that you have a fuzzy alt that's going to be able to help you boost on honey day, or should I say honey days, because it lasts for 2 days. And also make sure that you have a really good stinger stack boost, because in the end it's just gonna help you make even more honey for honey day. I have a stack of 224. Obviously you don't need to go that overkill, but just get some decent stickers on the sticker stack, so that way you can make some more honey. Now the next method you probably wouldn't think of, but that's going to be your planners, specifically smoking planners, because while honey day is overpowered for making honey, it is also overpowered for doing puff shrooms, because you know, ×2 honey. So you want to make sure that you have some smoking planners ready so that when Beesmas actually arrives, you can do a ton of puff shrooms, and hopefully get some legendaries and mythics, and hopefully get a few turpentines for that planner of plenty. Now keep in mind, when it comes down to it, if you could choose between having good nectars for your honey day and having some smoking planners, it'd be much better to choose the nectars, because you can't exactly macro smoking planners and nectars at the same time. So on your main account, I would actually mainly recommend that you want to macro just your nectar, but if you have an alt account that you know you're not going to be honey day boosting on, then by all means get some smoking planners on that alt, so that way you have puff shrooms ready. And if you want to take it a step further, you can try and find a group that's willing to help you grind puff shrooms this Beesmas. That way they'll also be saving up smoking planners, so you can do even more puff shrooms. Also, because doing puff shrooms solo just straight up sucks. Now the next tip is probably a tip that could determine how many quadrillions of honey you make this Beesmas, and that's going to be your hive color. Now if you didn't know, Beesmas basically makes white hives and blue hives completely overpowered, specifically white hives, because when Beesmas releases, Gummy Bear's Quest releases, and when you complete Gummy Bear's Quest, you unlock the Gummy Cannon / Gummy Siege, which basically spawns 3 gummy bees, which is basically one of the most overpowered things you could ever do to a white hive. You're basically taking the gummy bees and giving them steroids. Yeah, that's what Gummy Siege is, and it's going to let you make so much honey. So if you know that you're going to have time to boost a ton during Beesmas, make sure that you switch to white hive, so that way you can make a heck ton of honey. If you know you're not going to be boosting a ton, then I would say switch to blue hive, because that's like the next best method if you're just going to be macroing, because oh my gosh, Beesmas tree gives so many buffs to a blue hive. As for red hives, I actually don't know too much about red hives, but I know they are good for robo challenge, so if you want that, go ahead, switch over to red hive, and I'm pretty sure they make good boosts too. Now keep in mind, from what I know, white hives aren't completely overpowered in the first part of Beesmas. They're only overpowered once you unlock the Gummy Siege. So from what I know, take this advice with a grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure you're supposed to switch to white hive halfway through Beesmas, so that way you can boost as another color in the beginning of Beesmas and then boost as a white hive when Gummy Siege comes out. And as a quick side note, make sure you have good drives on your digital bee just for your respective color. So if you're going to be a blue hive, make sure you got a lot of blue drives. White hive, make sure you got your white drives. Same thing for red drives. I have 149, but I very much need more. So hey, if you have some extra time in the weeks leading up to Beesmas, go ahead and grind some drives, as your honey day boost will definitely thank you for it. Also, I'm trying to hit 75,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I know it's a big goal, but it'd mean a lot to me if we could just hit 55,000 subscribers just by the end of this weekend. I think it'd be a really cool goal, and I know we can definitely do it. So thank you so much for watching. I wish you guys the best of luck this Beesmas, and I will see you all in the next video.